just pointing back to what Jimbo Fisher said at the SEC, media days, it really struck me as odd. It really struck me as this is guy he may be delusional, and it really it offended me. Okay, he had the nerve to say, "Be careful for what you wish for coming into this league." What have you done in the time that you've been there? Okay, you have a 26-10 record, first year in the SEC. Your first year in the SEC as the head coach of Texas A&M, 2018. You went 9-4, 5-3 in this league. Let's go to 2019 and see what your results were. So in 2019, I believe they went 8-5 and 4-4 in the league.
So, hey, Chris, let me stop you real quick. So they went 5-3 the first year in the league, and they had the 4 cupcake games that they have out of conference every year, right? So that's how you get to see. That's the big misconception about the SEC too. Everybody looks at the records and they don't understand that they are one of the only conferences to play 4 out of conference games because the SEC is so tough, right? But you play Lamar, Prairie View, Southwestern, North Dakota State, like I said before, and Northern Illinois to the damn Plutonic or something, school. So you play 4 cupcakes every year, and so every year you got all you need is 2 games to win in the SEC to get to a playoff. Well, no, I'm sorry. Just get to a bowl game. All you got to win is 2 games. 2 games in conference to get to a bowl game. So it oversaturates all their teams. All their teams aren't that good. I mean, let's just keep it real. When you got 4 out of conference cupcakes, it's easy to go to a bowl game, man. This is what it is. Okay, I'm done. I'm off my Go ahead, Chris.
So the first game back in 2020. They played Vanderbilt, and they only win by 5 points. Then they go on the road to Texas A&M, and they get beat by 28 points. The next game, they come back home against, I would say, a sorry Florida team or a good Florida team at the time, depending on the time of the season. They beat them by 3 points. Then you go on the road and beat Mississippi State. You come back home and beat Arkansas. You go on the road and you blow out South Carolina. Will Muschamp.
Everybody blows out South Carolina.
Yeah. And then you only beat a terrible LSU team by 13 points. And trust me, you got to go there in the last game of the season, so that'd be interesting. You beat Auburn by 11 points, and Bo Pix is there. So it's not really.
Yeah.
And just to inform your audience, that's what we call him on the Horns Down podcast, Bo Pix. We will not recognize him by his actual name until he can. Look, Tony Romo was known as Apple Turnovers where I'm from, but
hey, I'm with you.
Bo Pix.
Damn, Romo.
So then the last game of the regular season, and they played a full SEC conference. They beat Tennessee by 21 points. And then they ended up beating North Carolina in the bowl game. That doesn't impress me, son. It doesn't at all. That famous meme or that famous video that's been going around, lately. You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy. You're not that guy.
Hey, Chris. So, hey, man, let me backdoor that with every time Texas or OU plays a team from the SEC, my A&M friends always call me and say, well, Georgia, they had 3 players missing that game, or they didn't want to be there. Or Florida last year, they had 4 starters out in that game. So, I'm not counting that. Well, A&M, North Carolina was missing 3 of their top guys last year, and it came down to the last minute to win the game. So I don't want to hear nothing about these teams didn't want to be there. They didn't have their guys. Mac Brown didn't have literally 3 of his go-to guys in that game, and they still almost won the game. A&M got lucky with that run at the end to win the game, but it is what it is. So I don't want to hear nothing about they didn't want to be there. They had nothing to play for. Miss me with that. Texas and OU coming to the SEC. Big brother and big cousin, we coming. And we coming to the barbecue. And we want all the brisket. All the brisket and all the ribs. And talking about brisket, since you OU guys, hey, man, tell Lincoln Riley stop boiling them damn briskets, man. We don't like no boiled briskets in Texas, man. That brisket look garbage. You know that. Come on, Chris.
I can't defend that brisket. I can't defend it.
They said he bought the brisket in Austin. So I should.
He brought it at HEB.
Yeah, he brought it at HEB down there. He brought it back. He didn't put it in a cooler on the way back, so that's why the texture looked a little bit off.
He didn't let it rest in the cooler. He didn't let it rest.
Yeah, he rested in the cooler. Yeah, he drove 6 straight hours back to Norman, saying, "Hey, it'll be all right. It'll be all right. Just put it in the freezer when we get home."
Are we thinking? Are we all here thinking that as soon as OU and Texas enter the SEC, they're going to bump that conference schedule up to 9 conference games for each team?
Yeah, they have to.
I feel like they have to as well.
Yeah, they have to. So this leads us to like the next topic, man. Just the pod situation, right? So with the pods, right? They're talking about 4 different pods. So that's what's been floating around here. So honestly, if it's 4 pods, you got to look at that as like the NFC, right? So you got the NFC East, NFC North, the South, and the West. And so in those 4 pods, you play everybody in your pod, right? And then you play 2 games from the other pods. So that gives you 9 games right there. So it has to be 9 games. We can't do this 8-game crap of, folks, especially with 16 teams. Come on, man. You got to get the fans their money's worth, man. I don't want to see Nickel State play nobody no more. I don't want to see McNeese. I don't.
The Citadel.
Yeah, man. They got too much talent. I mean, they got too much talent there in the league and too many brands, man, to where, instead of Nickel State versus Texas A&M, let's do Texas, A&M versus OU that week, or something, man. They got to figure out something with that. But yeah, over to you guys on that, man.
As far as the pod talk, I'm not really a big fan of it. But I guess if you were asking a question of who should be in the in OU and Texas pod, I believe you should put OU and Texas together, obviously. And a lot of people would say, "Oh, well, you just throw in Texas A&M and Missouri," and I'm like, not so bad.
No,
A&M and Arkansas. A&M and Arkansas.
I think Arkansas.
I think you would throw in Texas A&M and Arkansas. You might be able to get away with throwing in like a LSU or Mississippi State or Ole Miss. You could throw one of those in there and just say, "Hey, we're gonna put y'all on the gauntlet. You guys got to play each other every year." But I mean, realistically speaking, though, you'll probably put Texas, OU, Arkansas, and Texas A&M in there. I don't think that it works. I like the whole idea of just having a straight up East and West division, having OU, Texas A&M, Missouri. I think LSU, Mississippi State, Ole Miss. If I miss somebody, Arkansas. Put those over there, and then put the rest of the guys over there in the East. You already know it's going to be a 3-team race each year. It's going to be Alabama, Georgia, and either Florida or Auburn, depending on who's better that year. It's going to be one of those 3 out of those 4 teams are going to consistently be there, and it's going to come down basically. You say, all right, OU, you should come out of here because, granted, LSU had an amazing year, not last year, but amazing year. But let's all come back to reality and remember that when we weren't sitting on cloud 9 watching them, they had some of the worst quarterback play. Last year, you know what I called last year for LSU? It's a office email with the per usual attached to it. Per usual, per norm. There was nothing interesting happening down there. Brennan, he was terrible at quarterback, and they threw everybody else. I was just like, man, how many quarterbacks does it take to fix? You know what I mean? Like it just didn't make any sense, and I think it really showed why a lot of the LSU boosters and a lot of LSU administrators weren't totally sold on Coach O. Mm-hmm. So I just would say that, there's some it's recency bias, obviously, but there's some realistic perspectives that a lot of teams and a lot of fans out there in the SEC need to have about their league and about their own teams. You know, it's one of those things where a lot of people like to say, oh, well, the last time OU won a championship was in 2000 and Texas won one in 2004. But I'm like, yeah, but we played for a lot of national championships and we played for more than you guys have. Granted, you could say the league is weak or whatnot, but then again, when you start thinking about it, TCU, Texas Tech, K-State, teams like that have actually went down there and beat some of your SEC teams. So it's not like the
in
Big
bowl
12.
games.
Yeah, in bowl games, early season
Oklahoma
games.
State too. Put that in there too. They were kicking butt too, man. Oklahoma State. Yeah, they were putting in work.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that, you know, you're sitting here talking about OU and this and that, and I'm like, okay, well, our best teams kind of miss each other. They hit and miss. But OU and Texas, outside of the Alabama playoff game and the LSU playoff game, we all know that OU choked that game away as far as the one against Georgia. And I think 18 Seth, they choked that game away.
I remember that
but
game.
You're just sitting here just telling a lot of these SEC fans, like, man, you guys got to get up off your pedestal and actually realize that, hey, there's some juggernauts that's coming to your league. But just to the main point, though, I'm not a big fan of the pod talk. I just want to see two divisions, and I want to see us just go at it. The biggest thing is just making sure that you have enough games during the season that every team intertwines. We do not need to go. I mean, what I think that everybody's on record is saying that Texas A&M has been in the SEC for 10 years and has only played Georgia one time.
Something like that.
One time.
Yeah,
Georgia's never come down to A&M either. They've never been in Cal.
That can't happen. Florida, Georgia, Auburn, all those teams over there in the SEC, if they move to the SEC East, they have to make annual. I would say at least one every 2 years. They have to make an annual trip to Norman, or OU has to go and play them. Like they can't just miss each other every year like they've been doing, because that's another problem that I've always had with the SEC. They talk about we're the best and we have this and we have that. Well, your top teams don't play each other year in and year out. There's no reason why Alabama should be really good, and then South Carolina only God knows why they're really good this certain year. There's no reason why Alabama should not be going there and playing. And they played them 3 years ago, and so now they can't play them anymore. Like, that makes no sense to me.
Yeah. I mean, one thing also that I don't think it's gonna. I don't see it being implemented into the SEC. But one thing that I always liked about the Big 12s, at least since 2012 to now, the system that the top two teams. I guess since they brought the Big 12 championship back in the 2017, but the top two teams play each other in the championship game, and because that's not always, we see in the ACC, Clemson will be playing like a 7-5 Pitt or something, but that's just because they're in the other division, but they're not clearly the second best team in that conference. Same, we see that a lot in the SEC as well. Alabama will win the West, and maybe Auburn was the second best team in the conference that year, but just because they're finishing behind Alabama faces a Florida or a Georgia. So it's like, especially with adding even more top talent and more teams like OU and Texas, it's that I feel like that's going to be more of an issue if they don't address that in some way to get those top two teams to play each other in the Big 12 or in the SEC championship game. But it's not something that I hear being talked about, and I don't think if they especially if they keep it just divisions, I don't see it. I don't see that being a thing. Like we would just have to get lucky if the top two teams can meet each other in the championship game. But that's something that it would at least, because with the way the SEC is structured as well, it would at least give me some peace of mind knowing that, okay, maybe a team had like a really great schedule. They avoided a lot of the big roadblocks, but if they can get to that big game, they still got to prove it against another team that's at least at that level as well. So that's just something that I would like to see, but it's kind of a pipe dream at this point.
Yeah. But that's why, I actually like the pods just for that reason, because, you play everybody in your pod, and then the other 3 pods, you play 2 people from that pod every year. So let's say, for instance, if, like one pod has Mississippi State, Mississippi, Alabama, and Auburn, right? So I would play all my folks, Texas, OU, Texas A&M, Arkansas. And then one year I would play Mississippi and Mississippi State. And the next year I would play Alabama and Auburn. And then the third year I would go back to playing Mississippi and Mississippi State. So, I actually like that because it does, factor in that everybody's going to get to see each other at least once every other year. At least once every other year. And I think that's perfect for the league.
You kind of made me a believer in it. I just want to see great matchups year in and year out. I don't want to see Bama get the benefit of the doubt, and their first 6 games are Mississippi State, Ole Miss, Auburn on the down year,
Citadel,
Tennessee. Yeah.
They played Alabama A&M 2 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And and nothing wrong with it. They're giving the schools money to come, spar with them. But just donate the money to the school.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, what happened to philanthropy?
It's 60-something to nothing, right?
Your SEC schools. Hell, they should have the frats and the sororities down there donate money. You already know trust fund babies down there. I'm just saying.
That's crazy.
Man, like I said, I just want to see great matchups. I want to see great football, but I want to see anybody duck people also and go on and win the SEC championship. And, I guess that's me just being so used to the Big 12 schedule where you play everybody and you don't miss teams.
Right.
Back in the day when they had the North and South divisions, K-State and Kansas and who else was up there in the North? A lot of those teams, they were like
Colorado, Nebraska.
Yeah, because they were always like, oh man, we can make a run at the Big 12 championship. We don't have OU or Texas on the schedule.
Right.
Well, we got Texas on the schedule, or we got OU on the schedule. We know we're gonna lose that game, but if we, get it together, possibly can make a run at this. Yeah. So whereas every other team, they already knew what was going to happen when they came to Norman and when they went down there to
Austin. Get it right. Austin.
When they went down there to that other place down there. I can't say that name right there. Hey, but seriously though, next I think that I'm trying to get Seth to go, but I'm going to go to the Red River Shootout, Red River Robbery, whatever they want to call it. I'm going to Dallas, Oklahoma, and you are invited, my friend. Okay.
Oh man, hey, I've been thinking about going. I've been trying to get my wife to go, man, and she's been wanting to go. And I think this year or last year was the year that it was supposed to happen.
Yeah,
me, the wife, my stepdad, and my mom, and then COVID hits. Right. And so, the wife's freaking out, of course, I'm not going. But this year, it's got to happen. It's got to happen, man.
This will be the last
one. I got a bunch of family too in Dallas. It's got to happen.
This might be the last one where it's a pair of Big 12 teams. Next after this, it might be this might be played on CBS or something, in a pair of
hey. Just to go back to my WWF reference, okay? I really thought this out. Look, check this out. Okay. So you can't tell me that the Big 12 is not scheming with either OSU or Iowa State like Vince McMahon and Shawn Michaels were when Bret Hart was talking about going to WCW. There's no way you can let Texas or OU leave with the Big 12 championship. It's got to be a screw job somewhere, all right? And I'm just letting y'all know, all you referees, especially at the Big 12 championship game, I don't care where it is, referees that's going to ref the Iowa State game, that's going to ref the Texas game, every game, I'm watching. All right, my eyes are here. I'm watching. There's no Montreal screw job is going down on my watch. This is a championship year. You heard it here first. OU will be the national champions in 2020.
Not happening.
And I put that on Spencer Rattler.
I'm gonna tell you, Texas won the first Big 12 championship. We're gonna win the last Big 12 championship when we go to the SEC. I'm telling you, that's what's gonna happen. That's what's gonna happen. We're gonna set it off and say, we told y'all. Now it's time to go get it in the SEC. Come on, let's have some fun.